everybody, it's Carrie Clark with SpeechAndLanguageKids.com and the Speech Therapy Solution. Today I'm answering a question about how to treat nasal emission. Now, this is not something that I have a ton of experience with, so I will tell you that the information I have here comes from ASHA. I love ASHA. I know that some people have their issues with ASHA, but they have a lot of really good materials out there for us. So the source is down here at the bottom. If you scroll below the video, you'll be able to link to this, and all of this information is straight out of the ASHA leader. So this is what I came up with. So the first thing you need to do, usually make a referral. So if you have a child with nasal emission and you don't have a specific reason why, if you don't have a cause, if it's not like, well, this child had a cleft palate and now it's fixed, or those kinds of things, then you need to go ahead and make a referral to a regional craniofacial team or a cleft palate team. Even if there's no history of a cleft, if they have general nasal emission, meaning it's on all sounds or it's on quite a few sounds, then definitely need to go in for further assessment and management of that, because it could be something structural. And if it's structural, you're not going to be able to fix it with speech therapy. We can't fix structural in speech therapy. So make the referral, but there are some situations in which you can do therapy. So this would be phoneme-specific nasality or nasal emission due to faulty articulation. So if the child is just having nasal emission on just a few specific sounds, then it is likely that they learned that wrong, and it is then an articulation problem as opposed to a structural problem. So that's something that you can go ahead and try to treat. Children who are using compensatory articulation productions due to a history of velopharyngeal dysfunction. So if they had something wrong with their velum and now they're able to, the structural problems have been fixed, but they learned it wrong. So now they have to unlearn the wrong or the compensatory articulation. That's something we can do therapy on. And then after a child has surgical management of velopharyngeal dysfunction, you can help the child learn to make better use of the new structures. All right, so what does ASHA say about how to do therapy? Well, how about some blowing and sucking exercises? No. The answer from ASHA is no. ASHA advises against the use of non-speech oral motor exercises like blowing and sucking for improving velopharyngeal function. I know it seems like it would help, like, oh, well, if you can blow air out your mouth, then you should be able to talk air out your mouth, right? Unfortunately, the parts of the brain that control blowing and sucking are not the same as the parts of the brain that control speech production. So even if you can teach them how to blow air out of their mouth without it going through their nose, it does not mean that that's going to transfer over to being able to use that for speech. So unfortunately, that sounds great, but there's no real evidence to back you up there. So it's not evidence-based, which means we should not be engaging in it. Now, that being said, everyone's going to say, not everyone, there are going to be people out there that say, no, I had a kiddo that it really helped with. So, I mean, if you've tried everything else and you want to give it a shot, go for it, but don't spend a lot of time on that because it's probably not going to help. Okay. So then the two suggestions that they did have in the ASHA leader for how to do therapy on this, the first one was if there was nasal emission on sibilants only, then you can have the child produce a T sound with the teeth closed, and then have the child prolong that sound. So I like to call this an exploding T. Oh man, I'm sorry. I like to call this an exploding T. They did not call it that, but that's what I've referred to it as. So it would be like having them go t-t-t-t. And if they have a normal velopharyngeal valve, this should result in a normal S without the nasal emission. And then it can be transferred to other sibilant sounds. So this is like the same approach that I take for a lateral lisp. So if you've been on the website and seen the lateral lisp post, if not, just scroll on up here to the top and type lateral lisp right there in the search bar and you'll find that. But I have a whole thing on lateral lisp, and this is kind of how you start, is you get that you take the T and turn it into an S, and then you can take the S and turn it into a Z, and you can take the S and turn it into an SH, and then you can take the SH and turn it into a CH. So you can just kind of move them through by just gradually changing that sound. So that's one approach. The other approach they listed was if the child is co-articulating NG for L or R, then you can, or if the child has a high tongue position for vowels, which is causing the nasal emission, it can often be helpful to have the child co-articulate a yawn with the sounds. So have them go, oh, ee, and practice opening the mouth like they're yawning. The back of the tongue will go down and the velum will go up to make that yawn sound, and that can help get you the oral airflow instead of the nasal emission. And I'm sure there's a lot of other strategies too. If you want me to do a video on specific strategies, go ahead and tell me like what sounds the child is having nasal emission on, or what problems seem to be going on, and then I can give you some more specifics there. So then the last thing that ASHA said was if it's not working, then if the child continues to demonstrate that nasal emission after a few months of treatment, they did say months, that the child should be referred to a specialist for further assessment of and consideration of physical management. So let's say you have a kiddo who just has this phoneme-specific nasal emission. So you go ahead and try some articulation therapy. If that doesn't work, go ahead and refer. That's the general policy and the general best practice, because there could be something structural going on that you just can't tell. So there it is. Hope that helps. If you have any specific questions, go ahead and leave me specific cases. Just make sure everything's HIPAA compliant. You're not telling me any identifying information, but just kind of tell me what's going on with the kiddo, and I will do some more digging and see what I can come up with. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video.